CSS audio is coming into the cave. All right, and I want to know what I'm in for. So, from my understanding, these are DIY packs, but you can also buy them pre-made. So this is interesting. All right, so I want to know what I'm in for. I had not been following all these videos, so all right. So I got Thomas, Tharbamar, Jay, but Jay does the little one. Also, another one. How come ABX Audiophile isn't coming up? I know James did it. That's why I was searching for ABX. There it is. So we'll look at James and Thomas.
So once upon a time, I reviewed a speaker from CSS called the 2TDX. So in that review, as always, I just reported what my ears heard. No bribes, no secret handshake.
I remember this one. So this one, the title of this one was "Can DIY Compete?" Got a lot of views though. I think he's well over 100,000 views on that video.
I'm a Focal fanboy. I want treble that sparkles so much it hurts my eyes just by listening to the speakers.
Thomas, why you say that on video? Because in one video you say you want super high treble, but in another video when you're voicing amplifiers, you want smoothness. So do you want smoothness out of your amplifiers because your speakers generally are like super high in the treble and in the details? I think Thomas started loving vocal type deals, and I think as he's getting older, these things are changing.
Okay, here's where it gets interesting. So after that review, I got to hear the 1TDX at my audio buddy's place. This time, the bookshelf one. And guess what? Not dark. It's not rolled off. I started questioning my sanity. Did I mess up my review? Maybe the 1TDX with less bass sounds more revealing on the top end. And also the fact that he had $30,000 of gear.
Okay, so from what I'm getting it, Thomas thought that it wasn't detailed enough when he had the tower to TDX, but then he switches to the bookshelf, and the bookshelf has more detail. Okay, sounds like his experience with the 2TDX was that either the bass was overloading his room or there was a lack of balance between the top and the bottom end. Hence, switches over to the little guys, which have significantly less bottom end, most likely, and now all of a sudden it sounds more detailed. So it's a question of balance. But I wonder how much of that had to do with room placement, room acoustics, synergy, gear pairing.
Fast forward to today, and Carrie from CSS emailed me. Hey, do you want to review the 3TDX? I was expecting a restraining order, not an invitation. Hey, you have to respect that.
Come on, a restraining order, dude.
It takes guts to ask for honest feedback and then come back for more. That's how you know they're serious about making great products.
100% agree with you there, Thomas. A manufacturer that comes back and offers you more after a critical feedback, that I love. Absolutely love.
The kit starts at $2,000 and climbs depending on your taste for fancy parts such as better capacitor, more expensive capacitors.
I like this idea. I like that you can choose, I think, a flat pack. I'm not going to switch off, but you can add the flat pack so you don't even have to do the woodwork yourself. You just get everything and then paint it, cover it in laminate, whatever you want. I like that a lot. But I bet you there's a big price difference between the finished speakers and the kits.
And trust me, I have enough capacitors at my home to build a small spaceship.
That he does. That he does. He went from having no capacitors as a YouTuber to he has a warehouse of capacitors now. All kinds, every brand, like you name it. I don't know where he keeps all this stuff, but that's a lot of capacitors.
I can confirm that different brands sound different. More expensive doesn't always mean better. So trust your ears. It's a foam speaker and weighs about 70 pounds assembled. It is.
Okay, so this is not an easy speaker to drive in theory, according to these specs, because when you factor in a 4 ohm requirement, 87 dBs in sensitivity, and you gotta push 20 hertz up to 20 kilohertz. Oh, sorry. No, that's the in-room response. All right, so they're looking at 32 hertz still. All right, plus minus 3 dB. That's interesting. That's very interesting. But his title says they're bass monsters. I wonder.
Please don't let it join the dark side. 3.4 seconds later, and yep, okay, so this doesn't sound like the 2T-DX, but more like the 1T-DX on the top end. It sparkles, and there's sharpness and detail. I like it.
So sounds like he got a more balanced presentation with this review, with the testing of the 3TDX.
So what stands out with these speakers? First is the bass. Your neighbors will hate you. The bass on these CSS speaker, just like the 2TDX, is absolutely bonkers, man. If you ever wanted to rattle your floor and have the neighbors file noise complaints
Come on, we're not even halfway through the video.
before you finish your first track, yeah, man, the 3TDX is here to make your dreams come true.
Big
This
giant
is
bass.
the first time I ever wished for
Big
a
giant bass.
1000 watt Class D amp in my house. Why? Because the more power you feed it, the more the bass goes from wow to holy cow.
So giant bass. Slam, powerful, big impact bass.
Now, this strong mid-range should appeal to a large group of audiophiles. Now, the advantage...
Strong bass, strong mid-range. Sparkly and detailed.
I would have liked them to have a beryllium tweeter option for the kid, because I tend to favor that kind of tweeter, which I find more refined.
I don't always entirely agree with that. Some setups with beryllium tweeters I like, but some setups with beryllium tweeters I don't like. Beryllium tweeters for me sound great if the speaker is really well balanced, tonally speaking. If it's not well balanced or the room is not reacting well to the speakers, a beryllium tweeter is my enemy.
My Galleon TS-820, that's a Class A smooth 20 watt amp.
Oh, cheesy plug. Cheesy plug. Here we go. Plug for Galleon.
I was shocked at how smooth these speakers can be in the mid-range. So my point is, it is not one of those speakers with a mid-range that is like relaxed and smooth, but it is still possible to get it to sound that way.
Yeah, I would hope so. It's called a speaker. It's going to be influenced by the amplifier, by the source, by the preamplifier. All right. I wonder if the size of his room also has a lot to do with his perception of bass being strong. Okay, you know what? That being said, now I'm really curious. I want to go hear what my other buddy James thought of the speaker. Let's go.
Buy them all the way finished. Should I buy the kit?
No.
You know, we are always looking for a fantastic bang for buck speaker or component for our stereo systems. We have been through a lot of stuff over the last couple years. And if you're...
Yes, we are. Yes, you have.
Speaker designs that you can order,
I like that.
But they have a whole series of crossover upgrades that you can kind of work.
I like that too. This is really cool that this company does this, because it sounds like you can get serious top performance. Get the flat pack, you assemble it, not complicated. Yeah. And being able to upgrade the crossover to that, to me, is very, very important. Because my favorite crossover is no crossover, but good luck with that when you got a bunch of drivers like you do here. So I get it.
With depending on where you...
And the price difference is pretty significant. Give me 1 second. I think the price difference between a kit versus the built pair. So the kit with the flat pack, I'm not going to pick standard crossover because, in my opinion, guys, don't take the standard crossover. I would always go for the better crossover. Now, whether you pick the Superior or the Amber, the price difference. Oh, okay. The Amber is a lot more expensive. No, I think the Superior one is potentially enough. So we're looking at $3,000 for the kit versus. Oh, they also sell the raw drivers. Interesting. Fully built, it's $5,500. So yeah, it's a good $2,000 plus. Yeah, it's about $2,500 more for the finished product. I think it's worth getting the kit. Me personally, I would save $2,500 and just assemble this. This is not hard to assemble. It really isn't. You don't need to be a master woodworker to figure this out. And the instructions come in the box from what I can tell. The foam for the inside is all there. Yeah, this is straightforward. Most of us are not going to make them look as good as a finished speaker. It's probably not going to have that beautiful, refined look. I mean, it's a flat pack. So spray paint the whole thing before you assemble it, or do the painstaking task of gluing a laminate wood finish onto this. Sure, good luck with the homemade piano finish. That's just not going to happen, I think. But anyways, all right, James. What you got, James? What you got?
Where you want your price point to be. You can jump in at the 1TDX, which is the one behind me. You can see single driver, single tweeter. Again, they have a wide array of crossover upgrades that you can do from just based about some of the differences and kind of what we thought about them. But first, let's just take a look at these awesome looking speakers to just show you the potential of how you could potentially finish your speakers, but there's kind of an endless space. So I'm excited about this one. Let's go that way. Let's everybody turn over there.
I mean, they're good looking speakers, but they're not, they're not spectacular. They're just, I guess, call them plain looking. But they look good. I like the look of them, especially this. And this finish, yeah, I find that look pretty good. I think I'm getting this exact same pair, not the exact look. I think this exact.
All right, so that was kind of a visual rundown of the 1TDX, the 3TDX,
so
TDX.
His fingerprints are still going to be
we're just going to talk about the microfarad capacitor at 500 volts that tells you that they all sound the same. Never listen to that individual again. The upgraded crossover.
So I go back to Thomas saying discussing caps is like discussing cables. No. Changing caps is a mountain of an audible difference compared to most changes of cables, generally speaking. Yeah, so he wants to get
in its finished condition,
the better
its nice
crossover.
finish and
I've already
so
mentioned
basically
that.
like buying a retail speaker. How do these things sound really at the end of the day? When we get into these 1TDX, 2TDX, 3TDXs, I will tell you that in the auditioning that Kelly and I did with the 1TDXs and the 3TDXs, we had them both in a room. There is kind of a house sound that is there. They both have kind of similar tonalities, and
so
performance. They image and kind of get maxed out. Have a really wide dispersion. They have a really nice wide sound stage.
Yeah, hold on.
They have really good in-room projection.
White sound stage.
If you look over at Aaron's audio, I think he did some measurements on them, and the dispersion was pretty wide. I think that's why they have such
Aaron
a nice
did
sound stage. But I was able to get soundstage easily.
Oh, I'm gonna go check out, see what Aaron's saying after this. So, great soundstage, very wide dispersion. So that means the sweet spot is probably going to be very wide. Looking forward to experiencing that.
4 or 5 feet off each side of the speaker. They disappeared really well. The upper end is really nicely detailed. It has a good sound to it. It's not going to get fatiguing. This is not going to be a fatiguing speaker. Also not going to be kind of a...
Thomas says, I could tell he was leaning towards that he would want it to be more detailed. According to James, it's got beautiful detail and not fatiguing. Yeah. All this stuff is so relative. Man, like I get buddies that come into my room and same system, same setup, sitting in the same spot. One guy is going to say that it sounds bright. The other guy will say that it sounds warm. Why is that? Do we all have some kind of sensitivity to certain frequency ranges? I think so. I think everyone has different sensitivities to different frequencies. And I think that's why some people really crave that ultra high detail, because they have a sensitivity to high frequencies. Doesn't mean they'll find it bright, but because they have a sensitivity to it, they enjoy it. They absorb the high frequencies more. Some people have more of a sensitivity into the mids, and some more of a sensitivity into the bass region. Everyone's different. That's why these these reviews, trying to wrap my head around what I'm gonna try to focus on these speakers. But heck, until I have them in the room, it's like I can't speculate.
Just depending on your flavor. I don't like bass that much. I'm not a big bass head. I usually don't run subs in my system, so I'm a little sensitive to that. So when I say something like, "Oh, that was probably almost too much bass," it probably isn't for most people. I'm a little bit weird that way.
No,
but as far as the
not weird.
performance aspect of things, the
There
separation,
is
the
such a thing
layering,
as too much bass. Absolutely, there's such a thing as too much bass. All right, so that's interesting. So these speakers are gonna probably sound heavy.
detail, the timbre, the tonality. I mean, everything felt really good. They're a real natural speaker. They felt pretty true to life.
That sounds good. I
The
like the
treble
natural
wasn't
timbre.
aggressive. The mid ranges were well composed. The bass was
All right, that's cool. Seems like this is gonna be strong bass, good detail, not fatiguing. Very curious about the mid range. Thomas says that it is strong. James says it's not really warm, and it's closer to being on the neutral side. But I am very curious to hear how this wide dispersion is, which should make for a very wide sweet spot. Gonna play around with that a lot. And actually, the fact that it's got a really wide dispersion is really cool in the sense that it'll maintain its composure when I try different toe ins. Yeah, this will be interesting. Okay. Okay. I'm looking forward to having these. All right. Okay, everyone. Just quick. Should be getting these speakers tomorrow night, and that's Friday. Whatever. By the time this video comes out, who cares? I will take a week or two to probably absorb them before I make a video on them. Not sure what I'm going to talk about the most, but definitely going to look at the dispersion width, the sweet spot, sound staging, and how they react in my room. And I'm going to move them around different places, and I will make sure I remove my big bass drivers from my room when I listen to these. All right, very cool. Thanks for tuning in. See you guys soon.